Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.9. Start with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shetapadakam Shri Vaishnavam Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lita Shri Vishakanutam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya cha kripa sindhu bhaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Okay. So let's start with the verse. Parinishthito api nirgunya uttama shloka lilaya Viheta cheta rajarshe akhyanam yad aditvavan. Parinishthito api nirgunya uttama shloka lilaya grihi cheta rajarshe akhyanam yad aditvavan. So the word by word. Parinishthita means fully realized. Api, in spite of. Nirgunye, in transcendence. Uttama, enlightened. Shloka, verse. Lilaya, by the pastimes. Ghita, being attracted. Cheta, attention. Rajarshe, O saintly king. Akhyanam, delineation. Yat, that. Adhitavan, I have studied. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O saintly king, I was certainly situated perfectly in transcendence, yet I was still attracted by the delineation of the pastimes of the Lord, who is described by enlightened verses. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The absolute truth is realized as the impersonal Brahman at the first instance by philosophical speculation, and later as the supersoul by further progress of transcendental knowledge. But if, by the grace of the Lord, an impersonalist is enlightened by the superior statements of Srimad Bhagavatam, he is also converted into a transcendental devotee of the personality of Godhead. With a poor fund of knowledge, we cannot adjust to the idea of the personality of the Absolute Truth, and the personal activities of the Lord are deplored by the less intelligent impersonalist. But reasons and arguments, together with the transcendental process of approaching the Absolute Truth, help even the staunch impersonalist to become attracted by the personal activities of the Lord. A person like Sukadeva Goswami cannot be attracted by any mundane activity. But when such a devotee is convinced by a superior method, he is certainly attracted by the transcendental activities of the Lord. The Lord is transcendental, as are his activities. He is neither inactive nor impersonal. So, from where we have been discussing the last few days, especially how Premananda Mataji also explained yesterday. So now this is coming to that level of transcendence part. So now Sukdev Goswami is now telling Maharaj Parikshit that I was there in the transcendence. I was perfectly situated. And still, he was attracted by the when he heard the pastimes of the Lord. And that is when he moved to the devotional part of the bhakti. Before that, he was in that, he was in transcendence. So transcendence has multiple levels, as we all know. The Brahman stage, the Paramatma, and the Bhagavan stage. So the Sukdev Goswami was early into the impersonal Brahman stage. There is a story on, I think we did in the first canto, when Sukdev Goswami was born and how he came out and how he was not coming out. We'll talk about it a little later. So he knew the transcendence. So transcendence, like I said, the levels are multiple. Like our Bhagavad Gita, Brahmabhuta Prasannatma. So anyone who is at that transcendental level, he is starting is with Brahmabhuta, understanding of the Brahman stage, where one crosses that level of material level and he reaches that Brahman stage. So at that level, the material dualities or dualities of the material world are not there. And then finally one gets to the Brahman, from the Brahmabhuta stage to the Paramatma and then Bhagavan. So all that happens slowly, step by step. At that stage, the Brahmabhuta stage, people who are at that stage, they do get that Brahmanand or feeling of joy, happiness, but it is not like the Paramanand stage, which is there at the Bhagavan stage. The focus of people who are in this stage, the Brahman stage, they are more towards liberation. Their objective is to get liberation. So they are focused on mukti. I was hearing some lectures around this verse by some speakers in our disciplic succession, and some of them have spoken a lot about it. So whatever I could understand, I'll just speak here. So what also came out was that of all the Goswamis, Srila Jiva Goswami has done a lot of, he has more emphatically and he has proposed and explained with a lot of arguments and logic on how he has established Bhagavatam as the authority on understanding all these levels of transcendence. So it comes up a lot in Bhagavatam and a lot of other scriptures that we have, these three stages and how people move by the mercy of the devotee and Bhagavatam to the next stages. So Srila Jiva Goswami has done a lot of work on it. We have another verse in Bhagavatam, 1.2.11, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaneti. Again, explaining the same concept, different levels. three levels. So here Sukdev Goswami is himself telling that he was at that Brahman stage or Paramatma stage. He knew because he was an impersonal, and there are a lot of other impersonal transcendentalist examples as well. I will talk about one of them in Chaitanya from Chaitanya Charitamrita of Sarambam Bhattacharya too. So Sukdev Goswami, as we know, he was a realized soul, but he was not coming out of the womb of his mother for 12 years. Because he knew that the moment he comes out, he would be under the clutches of these three modes of material nature. So because of that, he was not coming out. So finally, Vyasdev had to request the Lord, Krishna, to come and kind of convince him to come out. So Krishna came himself, and then he convinced, or he assured Sukdev Goswami that he will not be impacted by those three modes of material nature. So finally, he agreed to come out. But he was a realized soul. Initially, he was not into pure devotional service, as we call it. So he went after his birth, he went straight to do tapasya. Finally, Vyasdev went and he recited the Bhagavatam to Sukdev Goswami. And that is when he kind of, like he has said, so he knew all that in transcendence, but then when he heard that the Bhagavatam from Vyasdev, that is when he was attracted by the pastimes of the Lord, and then he moved towards the Bhagavan stage or bhakti. So he is one of the himself is speaking, and then Srila Prabhupada in his purport again says that by the grace of the Lord, an impersonalist is enlightened by the superior statements of Srimad Bhagavatam. He is also converted into transcendentality of the personality of Godhead. So people who are at this stage, the Brahman part, it's a little difficult to convince because they have knowledge, but their focus is different. Srila Prabhupada also, there were some examples of Srila Prabhupada talking so I was listening to, I have been listening to this series that His Holiness Ramapal Maharaj is doing. I'll build you a temple, the Juhu saga, basically, how the temple came into existence. One thing which came out was, so he keeps, the mention of Dr. Mishra, Dr. Patel comes in Juhu in all his morning walks. Now, Dr. Patel was a impersonalist, and they used to have a love-hate kind of relationship. And they would argue, and then again they would laugh. And Srila Prabhupada used to look forward to meeting him every day in the morning on those morning walks. And then they would discuss again and again, argue. And if he would not see him, he would send his disciples to go and look for where is Dr. Patel. So he was an impersonalist. In one of the discussions, Dr. Patel was saying to Srila Prabhupada that Srila Prabhupada, while your philosophy is different, there are others who have their own philosophy. Why don't you leave them alone? What is the need of you to, come so hard on them? And Srila Prabhupada, as we all know, he was very hard on these impersonalists and all these people. So he said that if I am a doctor and I am in an operation theater, treating or operating on a patient, and somebody else comes who is not a doctor, who does not know all this and says, okay, I will operate the person, what should I do? Should I let the other person who is coming, who does not know or work on the patient, or should I intervene? He said, that is my situation, that I have to intervene, otherwise the patient will die. And that is what is happening. So it's one example. of how Srila Prabhupada used to deal with impersonalists. So another topic which came up was another thing which came up was an example from Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was a renowned scholar, impersonalist around that time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Age-wise, he would have been like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father at that time. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, I think, 24 years old or something around that time when he met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had a very big following at that time. He had a lot of disciples, and so he used to argue with. So he was a Vedantist, so he had learned, or he remembered all the scriptures and all these things. His understanding was on the impersonal aspects. So he used to keep telling, and then he was also listening about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he inquired to someone that who is this person? They said he is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is incarnation of Krishna himself. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he kind of through his Vedantist philosophy or his understanding of Veda, he said, see, Vedas say that there are only Lord comes only in 3 yugas, not in Kali Yuga. So how did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who you are saying is Lord, has come in this Kali Yuga? So they said that Lord, he is himself Lord. He is not taken his avatar. That is why he is in Kali Yuga. He said, okay, let's go and meet him. So he went to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and so he had compassion. He saw that. So he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you are 24 years old. How you have taken sannyas? How will you sustain this for the future life of yours? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, okay, we will see how it happens. And then he said, okay, so let me tell you something. And then he was preaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 7 days in Jagannath temple, Puri. So after 7 days, he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you didn't ask any question. You didn't say anything. How do I understand you are even understanding anything? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that, see, all this has been made very clear and it's very easy to understand by the mercy of our great acharyas in Bhagavatam and everywhere. It's written and it's very clearly written. What you explained me in the last 7 days was not very clear. And then he gave he explained some of the concepts that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was speaking about. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya understood that these things can come out not from any ordinary person. And then he took to shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and became a Vaishnava. And finally, it also comes up that he went to those extents that wherever the word bhakti mukti used to come in Vedanta or Vedic text, he wanted to change all of them to bhakti. So he wanted to change everything that used to be called bhakti to mukti. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him not to touch Shastra. So again, it goes on to kind of explain or help us understand that, like Srila Prabhupada is saying, that even those who are staunch impersonalists or those who do not believe in the personal form of the Lord, they can also be converted, but only by mercy of a devotee and Bhagavata. So devotee Bhagavata and Granth Bhagavata. So both. So that is essentially an example to tell us how strong mercy of a devotee is in the entire process of bhakti. There was one more reference came up in Brahma Samhita 533. Vedeshu Durlabham. So basically, it was explained, it is written, that one can try for hundreds and thousands of years, understanding using our own mental strength, but we cannot understand on our own. The understanding comes only by mercy of a devotee and by mercy of spiritual master. So I think there are more examples too. There is an example of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciple. So his wife was very surrendered, but he was not completely surrendered at that time. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, as we know and we have read and heard about him, so he sent this disciple for pot cleaning service at an ashram. And there, this disciple, he saw that while he was a very intellectual person, he knew a lot of things, but surrender was not coming in. And there was somebody who was cleaning those pots, thinking that those are Krishna's pots. And that bhakti and that joy that he saw in that person, then he understood why he was sent there. And then he kind of took to complete surrender. So these are just some examples for us to understand that even those who don't have, those who are impersonalist, even those, they can also be moved to devotional service or bhakti from the aspirations of mukti by mercy of a devotee or a representative of Lord or Bhagavatam. So this was a small understanding, whatever I could gather over the last 1 or 2 days, reading about it. Overall, the experience was quite good to me because I understood that with this process of what we are doing here, at least I was able to spend more time on a particular verse, doing some research, reading through, listening to a few lectures. Quite good to at least personally me, and I hope it has been able to add some value. Any comments or anything? Otherwise, I think we can close the meeting.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Premananda, very nicely presented, beautiful. I completely agree with you. Anyway, the essence of it, how you concluded with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's, the person who approached him and how he learned from observing a person engaged in service, concluding it with that, beautiful. And what you said, I also always experience that, this opportunity to say a few words about Srimad Bhagavatam makes one to think about the verse and the references and the speakers, others, the devotees who have spoken on the same subject matter. Even like one single verse, just hearing it from those who have digested this subject matter and meditating upon the meaning of what they spoke, it is the most enlivening experience when it comes to doing this particular service of speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not about us speaking, it's not about us at all. Us preparing for that sharing, that enlivens our life. And that has also been my experience, and very happy to hear from you that, and please continue doing that. And I'm sure anybody who does that will benefit deeply by this process. So even if it is like once in a month, somebody is speaking, but it's not about just the fact that we are speaking, the fact that we are hearing attentively to be able to say a few words. It really enriches our life. And thank you very much for being part of this discussion group. To everybody who is present here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Absolutely.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol, Prabhuji. I think this is your first discourse, correct?
Yes, yes, the first one.
So wonderful, Prabhuji. You brought out all the points like Premananda Mataji, said. I'll not expand on those things, but thank you for your association, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Oh, I did not know this was the first class.
Yeah, this was the first one.
Great.
Was the first class.
This was the first class. Yeah. Okay. So
Much Prabhu.
yeah,
Nice class.
we are good to close the class. Or?
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam